That's right, you touched on the NCAA tournament, but they can't get there unless they have a nice productive run in the Pac-12 tournament. Here to discuss a little bit of questionable decisions right now going on within USC team. I have Aaron Siegel here on my left, and then across the table is Julia Adams and Jackson Safon. Guys, thanks for joining me on this edition of Trojan Hoarse, but let's get right down into it. Here we go. Chimezie Metu won the Pac-12's Most Improved Player of the Year. Question I have for you right now, Chimezie Metu, is he the most important player for USC to have perform in order to get into a late round in the Pac-12 tournament and eventually the NCAA tournament?
Well, for me, I'm going to go no. While Chimezie, he won the most improved player, like you said, and he's been just an absolutely dynamic scorer this year. Second on the team in scoring, leading the team in rebounds, leading the team in blocks. He's made a ton of strides, and that's why he's deserving of the award. But if for the person that needs to be the most productive in order for USC to make a deep run in either tournament, it's got to be Jordan McLaughlin for me. For me, the team runs better and the offense runs better when Jordan is aggressive finding his shot. And he's done it the last couple games against the two Washington schools, almost averaged 20 points per game.
I think that Jordan is a really great leader, so I do agree that he is very important to being successful in the Pac-12 tournament, but I do think that Chimezie is really important as well. I think he's not the leading scorer, but he is a dynamic player both offensively and defensively, and I think he's just more well-rounded versus more of the other players on the team, so I think he will be if he's both on his offense and defense game, I think that's really important for success in the Pac-12.
All right, Aaron, we got one vote J-Mac, one vote Chimezie, even us out here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with neither.
Okay. Or throw another wrench in it.
I was leaning to McLaughlin. It is a guard's game. He's the point guard. He's quarterbacking the team. Recently, when they won their two last games, it was because McLaughlin has been playing really well. He won Pac-12 Player of the Week. But I think it's a given. He has to play well just for them to have a chance. For them to get over the hump and make a serious run like you mentioned, it's got to be Boatwright. The guy who has the highest NBA playing player potential, the guy who got hurt. We really couldn't see these guys gel during the season like we expected to because of that injury. Can they come together? Can Boatwright play at a higher level in the tournament, in the NCAA tournament as well, to show his case for why he should be a top NBA player selection? I think that'll be the difference if they want to make a serious run.
The counter argument is that in a couple of their biggest wins this season against UCLA and against SMU and A&M earlier in the season, they didn't have Benny.
Yeah.
So for this saying they're going to make a big run against some of these higher quality teams, they've done so without Benny. That's one of the reasons why I went with Jordan.
That was still early in the season, though, when all teams were still trying to figure out their identity, not just USC. But we touched on it there. I left it open-ended, and we got ones across the board. So let's give it a more definitive so we have an actual yes or no answer. USC will be a Sweet 16 team in the NCAA tournament this year.
That's really tough. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. You really can't even know until how they play in the Pac-12. I'm going to say yes, and because I'm an optimist and I don't, facts mean nothing to me. So I'm going to go.
Facts mean nothing.
I love it.
It's all about the eye test. I'm going they make it to the Sweet 16.
I don't think so personally. I think I know that when I've looked at matchups for who they potentially might play, and SMU is who they predict that they might play in the first round, but I think possibly, since they have beaten SMU before, they could take them out again, but I just don't think we really would advance further than that, in my opinion, just based on how we played overall this season in conference play.
See, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but in Joe Lunardi's most recent bracket, he had USC as a 12 in the play-in game against Xavier. And I think if they're in that play-in game, then yes. And if they're not in the play-in game, even if they're a higher seed like CBS had them at a 9, then they don't make the Sweet 16. But we've seen in recent history teams getting that first game and getting rolling a little bit, and it sparks a little bit of a run. So if they get the play-in game, then yes. Even though there'll be one more game they have to win, so it might seem a little more difficult, I think they do make it if they get in that play-in game.
Play-in game definitely adds an extra element to the whole spectrum. As a 12 seed having to play in, it's a little tough right there. But I guess it essentially comes down to, like Aaron said earlier, it's going to have to wait and see what the matchups lay ahead, and we'll see how they do this week against the Pac-12, essentially, before getting into the NCAA tournament. Guys, thanks for joining me right here. Talk some USC hoops.